thank you for your comment. I wanted to read both of them. You said, wow, people are disgusting. I feel sorry for people that are that ignorant. I'm a nurse and I support you in what you do. You went on to then say here, I was told by a leader on the nursing board that they, the Nurses Association, eat their young. Oh, do they? Do they? And the ones that eat their young are the ones that are at the chief nursing leadership positions that are heading up the nurse unions. So Illinois Nurses Association, I don't have a problem with everybody in their organization. It's the lawyer. The lawyer didn't do anything. I mean, he just showed up. He never defended me because it wasn't meant to be successful. I never stood a chance, but I only learned that as time went on, because I had learned later that I shouldn't have rescinded my resignation like Illinois Nurses Association asked me to do, and I did because I figured they knew best. Because I never stood a chance. The amount of politicians and the head of the Chicago Tribune were on the board of this place. They had all the power, but I didn't know that at the time. But the nursing board, I mean, talk about a corrupt system there. But the credentialing board, too. Because these nurses, these are the people that people think that they know best, that they're the experts, because they have these, big, high, fancy jobs at the Board of Nursing or at the credentialing board. And it's like, no, they're just usually the most morally bankrupt, just like the chief nursing officers. Because how many nurses have seen how your chief nursing officer, and I used to understand it, I did, because they do have to play that balancing act between corporate and supporting their nurses. But over time, what you'll notice is they sell out more to corporate, and then they may have been a leader that at one time would be on the unit helping you, and what they become is somebody that hides in their office, doesn't interact with their staff hardly at all, and becomes this shell of a person. And what they end up doing is making more excuses for corporate. And as time goes on, you lose respect for those chief nursing officers because as a nurse that safety is the number one thing. And yet I've tried to understand it from their end because it's like, yeah, they'll just get fired if they don't go along. But then there's things they could do. Like I said, this manager that I had at a travel assignment, she was the best I've ever seen because she knows it's not right. She knows that she can see the games being played. But she knows how to pick over her battles, and what she will do is she will come in and help. No, there's no nurse managers that do that. There's just not unless they absolutely have to, and then they're usually just dying to get out of the building. Okay, because they've taken on their leadership position. They don't want to have to come in. So they totally sell out. And I think it's the sellout leadership ones that end up eating their young because they betray their own profession. They betray their own staff. And all for the paycheck. And I get it to a certain extent. It's just after a while, your staff doesn't have respect for you. The only nurse manager I saw that people had respect for was this one at this travel assignment because they knew they could reach her at any time. They knew she was smart, that she was very a common sense person. She was an NP. She didn't have to do any of this, but she truly cared, and she would come in. She was always available. You don't find that anywhere. She's the rare exception. But the chief nursing officers, forget it. They get into these positions and they have this arrogant attitude and then become this corporate tool. And it's really kind of disgusting. Because then you see how, you're not a nurse anymore. No, you're a corporate tool. Don't call yourself a nurse. Because you then want to make all these excuses to your nurses about why there's not enough staff. And really what those chief nursing officers should have done long ago is, and they probably just don't know, but they should have been calling out the nursing board. They should have been calling out American Nurses Association, who sets the standard of care for nursing. They should have been calling out the credentialing board, because it's all of these people that are making these decisions, and what they've all gotten on board with is bringing in cheap labor. So then what will end up being the fallout to everything is that nurses will realize, no, all of you nurses at leaderships, not all of, but you know what I mean. All those corrupt ones, and there's more corrupt in my opinion, just sellouts, not necessarily corrupt. But when the bottom of it falls out and you've hired all these foreign nurses and you couldn't put together, it's all to serve corporate so they can get cheap labor. You've watched for years how staff has left, and they all tell you the same reason. It's not like staff leaves quietly. There's always a lot of red flags that chief nursing officers know of. You know what I know you know what I mean. There is always more than one complaint by nurses about safety. And what the chief nursing officers become is just a tool for a bunch of corporate fascists that just want to get rid of as many nurses as they can. So I don't have anything against the nurses in the nursing union. I have issue with the lawyers and the people that head up these associations, because the board is so corrupt. Like when I had to go before them, it wasn't for anything regarding the lies that they accused me of. It was regarding documentation, because this is why nurses never can get unemployment, because all the hospitals know how to all they have to do is accuse you of something. And I didn't realize it back then, otherwise I wouldn't have rescinded my resignation. But if you're investigated by a hospital, it automatically has to be sent to the board, and then the board can decide if you need to come before them. So it was actually because of an Illinois Nurses Association nurse was the reason I wasn't raked over the coals too bad for documentation, which wasn't even originally, they didn't even want to hear what I had to say about everything that went on, because it was too crazy for people to believe. And the lawyer, who's a judge, that's who's overseeing your case when you have to go before them, they're a lawyer, they're not a judge. And there's always a nurse sitting in your case. And so the lawyer overseeing my case said to me after they go and deliberate, she goes and deliberates with the nurse sitting in my case. Well, that nurse was from another hospital that has the Illinois Nurses Association. And she said, no, hospitals are known for targeting union members. And so the lawyer told me I would have never believed anything you said, because they can't imagine that nurses would target their own. They can't imagine a hospital would be this corrupt. Yet this nurse knew. She knew because she knew what hospitals will do. But there's just so many levels of how bad it is, and people just think that they get away with it because, well, this is what I have to do. And yet the worst nurses, in my opinion, are the ones that become the chief nursing officers, because they play the corporate game and they know better. So they justify to themselves and their staff why, yeah, we don't have a choice, we have to keep it unsafe. Yet they never look into American Nurses Association, who sets the standard care. They never look into the board or the credentialing board and find out how they've been tied to the UN wanting to bring in cheap laborers. You just become a tool for a bunch of corporate assholes. So, yeah, the whole thing is just corrupt. I'm disgusted by all of it, because there's a lot of good nurses, but we've all been being screwed over for a long time. And the ones that do eat their young are always the ones that get in these leadership positions, and it goes to their head. It goes to their head, and they think they're better than everyone else. And all they become is a corporate tool, and the type of tool they become is a corrupt one. And they justify at the end of the day, instead of sitting back saying, I really shouldn't go along with this. It's not right for the hospital to keep sending us patients when we don't have any staff. Like if every nurse at chief nursing officers levels fought back more, all of them, then we would have a better system. But instead, they sell out to corporate. And then they don't realize that when the whole bottom of this does fall out, and nurses at the bedside realize that all these chief nursing officers, so many of them, sold out even their own people, their own American citizens, because they went along with corporate, and corporate was tied to the globalist agenda at the UN. That will be a sad day when that is known.